Assalamualaikum and good morning. So today we will continue to our next topic entitled Cardiovascular System. I think if you notice, I skipped several topics because we need to give this topic priority because it is related to your individual assignment. So I guess by having this lecture first, you can better understand and you can perform very well in your assignment. Right. So this week, uh, it is a cardiovascular system, which is one of the most important system in human body that uh, deal with blood. Okay, to supply oxygen to the working muscle, for example. Uh, it is hoped that by at the end of this lecture, you should be able to, as usual, both anatomy and physiology of the system, okay, the functions and structures of cardiovascular system, the heart system. And number three, you should be able to explain about the cardiac cycles, how the blood being cycled in human body, starting from receiving oxygenated blood from lung, okay, uh, the heart receiving oxygenated blood from lung and then pump out to all organs in human body, and then deoxygenated blood come back to the heart for oxygen enrichment. Okay, that's what is meant by cardiac cycle. Okay, kitaran jantung. And number four, uh, there are several definitions, and also you have to understand the terminologies. For example, heart rate, stroke volume, and cardiac output. And last but not least, you should be able to understand common diseases that related to cardiovascular system. For example, atherosclerosis, myocardial infarction, and so on. Okay. Okay. Now we proceed to function of the system. I think we just recall back what we have learned during first two lectures, blood and body fluids, and also immune system. In regards to its function, we can see here that cardiovascular system involve in transportation of substances, for example, oxygen, carbon dioxide, okay, foods that you take uh, that being converted to smaller substance or molecule. For example, kalau you ambil carbo, it uh, broke down to glucose, okay, and other nutrients, okay, fat and also protein. Another substance is water, and not forgotten to waste product that produced by our body, whereby cardiovascular system take uh, role in regulating the product to excrete them out from human body. And number two, the next function is controlling body temperature. Uh, that one we will I will further explain in the later slides. Okay, controlling body temperature. And number three, to protect human body from infection by having immune cell, for example, antibodies, and also protection in terms of uh, to fully cover our body from outsider attacks. Okay, for example, if let's say we got cut or wounds, there is a mechanism how to stop the bleeding. Okay, by having the clotting agent, uh, 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 platelet. Okay, platelet. thrombin and prothrombin stuff that involved in wound healing, okay, to stop the bleeding. Okay. Right. In this slide, it's just the explanation what I have mentioned in the latter slide, in the previous slide. So you can read by your own. Okay. Actually, in terms of waste product, actually waste product uh, being eliminated from human body through two ways. The first one is through breathing system, okay, and then number two through kidneys melalui air kencing, okay, since our blood uh, being filtered by our kidney, di mana waste will be excreted out and essential material or product or substances will be remain in human body. All right, this is our heart structure, okay, the gross anatomy structure of human heart. If you see the figure, there are two parts or two chambers, upper chamber and lower chamber. The top one is known as atrium, okay. The bottom one is known as ventricle, okay. If you see the image, blood actually it is a cycle. You can start wherever you want. If let's say we start from darah yang contain carbon dioxide, so it will enter human heart from right atrium yang color biru. Okay, so from right atrium to right ventricle, from right ventricle it uh, it goes to lung for oxygen enrichment and to remove carbon dioxide. So oxygenated blood will re-enter human heart from left atrium and then uh, left atrium to left ventricle, and left ventricle contract to supply the blood to the rest of human body. So for human heart structure, we can see here we have a right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, and left ventricle. Okay, so hopefully you can remember the flow. Okay, you can start wherever you want. If let's say you want to start from oxygenated blood, so oxygenated blood enter the heart from left atrium to left ventricle. From the left ventricle, it pumps out, the heart pumps out through left ventricle to the rest of the body. So from when the blood reach the organs or working muscle, okay, kebanyakan sel akan menggunakan oksigen, and then less oxygenated blood will come back to human heart through right atrium and then right ventricle, and then from right ventricle it comes up to lung for oxygen enrichment. Okay, that's it. That's dia punya cycle. Okay. Okay. Again, anatomy structure. Okay. Both left and right side of human heart is separated by septum, or dia ada kita punya thick wall, dipanggil sebagai septum. Okay, septum. So septums memisahkan antara left and right side of human heart. If you want to know, septum actually dia tak fully develop even after we birth. Biasanya septum akan fully maksudnya antara dinding septum ni dia akan fully complete after several months kita lahir. Okay, that's why ada kes berlaku jantung berlubang. That one disebabkan oleh dinding septum tu dia tidak fully covered, tidak betul-betul tertutup. Okay, so heart muscle is composed of cardiac muscle. Dia lain dengan skeletal muscle. So morphology structure of cardiac muscle berbeza berbanding skeletal muscle, okay, and also smooth muscle cell. Then if you the right side, the right hand side, you can see our heart contain valve. Okay, we have tricuspid valve, bicuspid or mitral valve, and also semilunar valve. So all the valve are important in order to make sure that blood flow is uniflow. Maksudnya pengaliran darah itu adalah satu hala. Okay, so can you imagine without valve, there is potential whereby blood tu akan flow back. Okay, bila berlaku flow back, dia akan berlaku gangguan. Okay, so the main point here is that our heart is composed or made of cardiac muscle, okay, specific type of muscle, okay, and left and right side of human heart is separated by a structure named septum, and human heart contain valve to make sure uniflow of blood. Right, this diagram explain to you how kita punya blood being cycled in human body. Okay, if we start from oxygenated blood. Okay, oxygenated blood ni actually berlakunya pengkayaan oksigen dekat kita punya lung. Okay, so oxygenated blood will return to human heart through pulmonary vein. Okay, pulmonary vein dia akan memasuki the first part of heart chamber known as left atrium. Okay, so from left atrium, the blood flows into the left ventricle. So from the left ventricle, oxygenated blood will be pumped out to the rest of human body melalui aorta. Okay, so when left ventricle contract, blood akan dipump keluar ke seluruh badan, ke seluruh organs. So body cell ataupun organ, when they use all the oxygen, then blood need to bring carbon dioxide, the waste, to the lung to expel out to the atmosphere, and then at the same time oxygen will be absorbed to the blood. So from body cell or organs, deoxygenated blood will return to heart through vena cava. Okay, so the next chamber involved is right atrium. So from a right atrium, blood flows to right ventricle, and then from right ventricle, blood is pumped from the heart to the lung through pulmonary artery. So in the lung, as I mentioned to you, there are two important processes. Number one, oxygen will be absorbed, what we call it as oxygen enrichment, and number two, carbon dioxide will be removed from the blood. It will be expelled out to the atmosphere. Now we move to circulatory system. Okay, actually, if you notice, there are two circulation involved in the cardiac cycle. Number one, pulmonary circulation. Number two, systemic circulation. Pulmonary means ones that relate to lung function. Okay, lung organ. That's why dia namakan cycle ataupun circulation disebut sebagai pulmonary. So pulmonary involve uh, receiving deoxygenated blood from the heart by the lung, and then oxygen enrichment process, and then the oxygenated blood will return to the heart in order to uh, uh, pump the oxygenated blood to the rest of human body. Okay, that's it. And then systemic. Systemic here means it involves all part of human body, all organs. That's why uh, it is stated there, oxygenated blood uh, will be pumped out to the rest of human body through arteries. And then deoxygenated blood comes back to the heart through veins. So you have to remember there are only two types of circulation or cycle, pulmonary and systemic. Pulmonary only involve lung. Systemic involve all organs or all cells in human body. Okay, next, blood vessels. Okay, salur darah. In Malay, we call it as salur darah. There are three types of salur darah, blood vessel in human body or cardiovascular system. Number one, known as artery. Number two, capillary. And number three, veins. So you can see the definition or function of each vessel. Artery, it carry oxygenated blood. Okay, oxygenated blood from uh, from the heart to the rest of organs. Okay, so before when the blood uh, reach the organs or cells, it will flows through the capillary. So at the capillary, oxygen and other material or substances will be supplied to the required cell. In this case, oxygen akan di uh, uh, what you call supplied to the muscle, nutrient and so on. And dekat capillary juga berlaku proses carbon dioxide uh, will be absorbed to the capillary, and then the blood will continue flowing to the veins. Okay, that's why vein dia carry blood, deoxygenated blood back to the heart. Okay. So in other words, artery carry oxygenated blood, vein carry deoxygenated blood ataupun blood yang mengandungi high percentage of carbon dioxide. Okay. So if you notice, there is a question there. Why are there different types of blood vessel? Okay. So the answer is on the next slide. Okay. As you can see, the anatomy, the structure of blood vessel of artery, vein, and capillary. Okay. Obviously, for the artery, its outer wall and inner layer of muscle and elastic fibers are much more thicker compared to the other uh, vessel, vein and capillary. Okay, the reason is artery is the first vessel yang uh, what you call number one, dia yang first vessel yang accept pressure. As I mentioned just now, when uh, the heart, human heart pumps, okay, left ventricle pumps, dia akan automatically pam keluar darah daripada jantung kepada seluruh organ. So the first vessel yang receive the force ataupun pressure adalah artery. So that's why artery need to be thick in terms of dia punya outer wall and inner layer, so that dia boleh absorb ataupun cater the function of uh, receiving high pressure from the pumping heart. Okay, relatively vein is featured with thin outer wall and thin inner layers of muscle and elastic fibers, because vein only receive uh, relatively much more lower pressure of blood pressure. Okay, for capillary it's only one cell thick, so its function just to supply oxygen and other nutrient to the cell or organs. So the importance of the valve is projected by this figure. You can see actually human uh, blood vessel valve, that the important features of the veins is important to prevent our blood from backflow. Okay, so valve dekat kita punya vein can be open and closed. Okay, if let's say uh, we human perform certain movement that what we call against the gravity, automatically our vein will close to prevent from the blood flow. So the reason why we have uniflow dalam kita punya blood circulation is due to these features. Okay, dengan adanya injap, it will make sure berlakunya pengaliran satu arah. Because this feature only owned by kita punya vein. Okay, vein or vena in Malay. Okay, now we discuss a little bit what happened to the heart during exercise. Okay, in terms of heart rate. Okay, actually, human heart rate, maximum heart rate can be calculated or estimated by having this formula, i.e., 220 minus your age. Okay, okay. For example, if you are 25-year old, so your maximum heart rate, okay, your body or your cardiovascular system can reach is 220 minus 25 equal to 195 beats per minute. Okay. Okay, before that, heart rate means uh, how many beats your heart can, how many beats your heart, sorry, how many beats your heart beating in a minute. Okay, so that's why its unit is BPM, beats per minute. You can calculate yourself what's your heart's maximum capacity in terms of heart rate. So nowadays people are concerned about people are aware the importance of controlling heart rate while performing exercise, because to if you let your body, your heart performing at the highest level for prolonged time, it can affect your health as a whole. All right, next we move to stroke value and cardiac output. Before that, if you see the terms pulse rate, actually pulse rate and heart rate is similar things. Okay, both measuring how many times human heart beats per minute. Okay, berapa kali kita punya jantung beats dalam 1 minit. Okay. Actually, heart rate or pulse rate is not the only way to measure human hearts. We can use other methods, for example, stroke volume and cardiac output to measure the performance of human hearts. Okay. If you look at the definition of stroke volume uh, in, in a simple words is the amount of blood uh, being pumped out by left ventricle per beat. Okay, jumlah volume of blood isi padu darah yang dipump keluar oleh left ventricle setiap kali dia pump. Okay, per beat. Okay, while for cardiac output, it is the output amount of blood pumped by left ventricle of the heart for each minute, okay, per minute. So that's why to calculate cardiac output, we can simply times heart rate and stroke volume. Okay. So if you see the example given, if someone having heart rate 60 beat per minute and its stroke volume is 90 milliliters. I think this one for resting cardiac output. So you will get about 5.4 liters, okay, per minute. So uh, he or she, uh, his or her cardiac output equivalent to 5.4 liters per minute. So, if you want to compare with a relatively better performance of cardiovascular system, his or her cardiac output relatively higher than normal person. Okay, let's look at the effect of exercise or response and adaptation of exercise toward cardiovascular system. Okay, if during exercise, our body use much more oxygen and nutrient. I mean, if say the rate increase relatively higher than sedentary lifestyle. So the reason why cardiovascular system need to increase or speed up or what to call double up its activity because it want to supply both oxygen nutrient and also at the same time to excrete out all the waste material. So human hearts need to work harder, need to work faster, maybe at a greater force. We need to say the more vigorous exercise you perform, uh, the harder your heart's work. Okay. So it leads to the increased rates of pulse rate or heart rate and also stroke volume. So in order for human hearts to cater the demand, these two variable heart rate and stroke volume need to be increased. So if you perform this kind of regular exercise, uh, so now you are at the stage of uh, uh, heart's adaptation to the regular exercise. So at a prolonged time, your heart will adapt to the environment. You need to say your heart will get larger over time, and they will be also changes in terms of muscle fiber size. It become thicker, and where it's become thicker, it will contract stronger, leading to the higher volume of stroke volume. Okay, we need to say when you perform regular exercise, you can increase your stroke volume. When your stroke volume increase, usually uh, it will lead to the lower resting heart rate. So lower heart rates indicates you are fit. Okay, if you compare between two different person, one at resting condition, one having uh, normal resting heart rate, and the other one having lower resting heart rate, relatively lower resting heart rate, we can say that the one having lower resting heart rate are fitter than the other one. Right, blood pressure. Okay, what is blood pressure? Okay, in cardiovascular system, whenever uh, the heart pumps out the blood, there will be some sort of force yang dikenakan onto the blood vessel. So the pressure is known as blood pressure. Okay. So as I mentioned to you, since our blood vessel having three different types of vessel, artery, capillaries, and vein. So each vessel, arteries, capillaries, and vein, uh, are having different degree of pressure. Okay, so artery having the highest pressure, okay, followed by capillaries and vein. As I mentioned to you, the reason why vein having valve is due to the pressure, to make sure since the pressure is low, then it needs another mechanism to make sure unit flow, pengaliran satu arah. So by having the inject, the valve, blood will flow in one direction. And also, blood pressure is controlled by the width of vessel. That's why kalau you tengok dekat capillary, dia punya width is narrow, and also artery is medium. So the kalau dia punya diameter of vessel uh, lagi kecil, dia punya pressure lagi besar. That's why vein dia punya width is the widest among the three vessels. It's just like when you apa ni menyiram pokok bunga dengan hose, biasanya you akan picit di hujung uh, apa ni pipe. Meaning to say you reducekan dia punya width. So bila width tu kecil, dia akan pressure akan tinggi. Same thing like this artery. Okay. So width of the vessel lagi kecil, lagi tinggi dia punya pressure. Okay. Uh, However, artery itself have has the capacity to constrict and dilate. Constrict, reduce in diameter. Dilate, increase in diameter of the vessel. So dia boleh control dia punya tekanan darah. Okay. Right. And human blood pressure is affected or influenced by several factors, for example, age, gender, stress, diet, and exercise. So in terms of age, human blood pressure tend to increase as you get older. Okay, that's why if you compare the normal range of uh, blood pressure, for example, 80 for the diastolic, 120 for systolic. When you measure the BP using the old patient, for normal healthy elderly patient, their blood pressure slightly increase. So you cannot say that even though if their blood pressure 90, 140, then the patient is having blood pressure. No. Relatively, blood pressure increase as you get older. And number two, gender. Men, orang lelaki tend to have higher blood pressure than women. Okay. could be linked to the size itself, mean relatively bigger and taller than human. Stress can also influence human blood pressure. When people stress, uh, there is a sort of stress hormone, cortisol, that increase uh, uh, the capacity of human hearts to work harder in order to cater the demand of the body under the stress. Okay, diet can also uh, affect blood pressure. Okay, high consumption of salts, for example, can increase blood pressure. Coffee also can affect blood pressure measurement. That's why you have to fast at least 12 hours before you take the measurement. Okay, and exercise also can affect the blood pressure. The idea is when you perform exercise, of course, you becoming more fitter. Okay, the fitter you are, the lower your blood pressure. Okay, as simple as that. Okay, okay. Now let's look at the effect of exercise on blood pressure. Okay, okay. So there are two situations here: the immediate effect of exercise and long-term effect of exercise. What we call it, the adaptation of uh, human body towards exercise. So let's focus on the first one. When you perform an exercise, your cardiovascular system will respond to the activity by increasing the blood pressure. Meaning to say, your heart beats faster and more powerful. Okay. Uh, so and the condition will uh, become more intense as you increase the difficulty of the exercise. So more your heart will be working more uh, faster and rigorously in order to provide the oxygen, nutrient that your muscle needs during the exercise. Uh, the capacity of blood flow can increase up to 35 times, okay, compared to the normal volume. So uh, you need to say the response of cardiovascular system can increase up to 35 times compared to during normal resting condition. Okay. And in long-term condition, exercise can reduce the blood pressure. Uh, i.e., when you perform regular exercise, your heart become more stronger. When your heart is stronger than uh, previously, your heart use less effort to pump out more blood to the rest of human body. So less force being exerted to the artery. Okay. So that's why when you exercise, your heart become stronger, lagi kuat. So your heart bila dah kuat, you just need small force to pump out similar amount of blood to the rest of human body. So as I mentioned to you just now, the fitter you are, the lower your blood pressure is. Okay, let's look at a little bit detail on how cardiovascular system involved in controlling body temperature. Okay, actually, during in a situation where you are too cold, your blood vessel will constrict. Okay, constrict means reduce in diameter of blood vessel. Okay, it is called as vasoconstriction. So when it's constrict, uh, it also involves the sweating process also stops. Okay, during vasoconstriction, the capillaries will what to call, will be located uh, away from the skin surface. That leads to the heat conservation. So no heat is radiated to the atmosphere. Oppositely, when you, uh, for example, stay outdoor, the environment is relatively hotter than indoor. Your body or your capillary tend to dilate. This is called vasodilation. Increase the diameter of blood vessel. So in this case, your capillary will dilate. We need to say it tend to be at the surface of at the skin surface, and it is easier for the process of heat radiation. So the heat will lost to the environment, and usually it will be followed by sweating process. So all these processes is important to lower down human body temperature. Right. Last but not least, the last subtopic is pathophysiology or diseases related to cardiovascular system. So here I listed only two common diseases. The first one, atherosclerosis, which is the deposition of bad cholesterol on the blood vessel. Okay, uh, so usually atherosclerosis and also hypertension is are chronic diseases. Chronic means it takes they take times to develop this kind of diseases. So cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, which is LDL, uh, for uh, for long term, it will deposit on the vessel lining, and you can see in the later slide the process of atherosclerotic plaque formation. So at the end of the process, there will be blockage of the artery that it will uh, prevent the blood flow. In serious condition, it will totally block the flow and it will affect the function of important organ. For example, if if it does happen at human brain, it can lead to stroke. Okay. And number two, hypertension. Okay, it is chronic disease. It is the elevation, okay, of blood pressure. There are many factors that can lead to the hypertension. Okay, for example, in terms of foods, okay, the structure of blood vessel artery also can lead to increase the blood pressure. Uh, for example, chronic smoking can harden, dia boleh mengeraskan artery. So the changes of the anatomical structure of blood vessel can lead to the hardening of artery, and eventually it will increase uh, the pressure being exerted on the artery. Okay, this diagram, the top three images show you the early atherosclerosis processes. You can see that it starts with the accumulation of lipids or bad cholesterol (LDL). Starting from that, it develops until the development of thrombus. Okay, so the thrombus will block, okay, partially or fully block the blood vessel or artery. So if there is blockage of the vessel, it will prevent blood uh, from flowing to the targeted organ. So it is very dangerous uh, for example, if those want to get active without considering the capacity of cardiovascular system in supplying the oxygen and also nutrient. So it is risky for those who uh, are not practicing exercise for quite long of time. And if she or he suddenly start practicing exercise, it can affect uh, the oxygen or the capacity of vascular system in supplying the required important substances to the exercise. So I don't think you have to remember all the steps, the processes involved in atherosclerosis. It is enough if you can understand uh, uh, the first step, how the atherosclerosis happen, which is the fact of bad cholesterol deposition on the artery. Okay, and you have to know actually the clinical outcome of atherosclerosis take place based on the location it affect the human body. If heart, it leads to coronary heart disease. If it involves central nervous system, for example, that the head location, it leads to cerebrovascular disease, for example, stroke. And uh, if it involves uh, other area, for example, our lower body parts, okay, but it can cause peripheral arterial disease. Okay, peripheral arterial disease, meaning to say, if you got a PAD disease, it can lead to the reduced supply of oxygen to your leg or foot. That's why those who are having peripheral arterial disease, uh, they have limited capacity in, for example, jogging, walking. Usually, PAD affected uh, the elderly people, okay, orang-orang tua. Okay. Uh, uh, if the condition or the disease atherosclerosis take place at the cardiovascular system, it can lead to angina, okay, the condition whereby low or reduced blood flow to blood that serve the human hearts. So same as the organs, if relatively low oxygen supply, it can reduce or even stop at all the function of the organ. In this case, angina, low supply or low supply of oxygen to artery that supply human hearts. Okay, that's why it when low level of oxygen, it can lead to cardiac ischemia. Ischemia means low level of oxygen that can affect the normal function of human heart. If you see the bottom figure, the comparison between normal and uh, atherosclerotic artery of cardio coronary artery, you can see the atherosclerotic uh, can somehow affect the oxygen supply due to the presence of uh, plaque on the cell artery lining. Okay, and it also can leads to acute myocardial infarction, serangan jantung. Okay, uh, it is risky when coronary artery being fully blocked by the cholesterol or the atherosclerotic plaque. When the artery fully blocked, no blood can flow into the uh, targeted organ, and it will stop the normal function of the heart. this lecture. If you got any question, you can ask me in the group, or you can PM me if you got any other question that relate to this lecture. All right. Thank you. Bye.